Well, it doesn't. As a lifelong City fan, I've supported them when we was in '99 when we was playing in Gillingham. But my question to Simon is, if you bought a company, and it's your company, and you wanted to pump in as much money as you wanted to make it successful and brand it the way you wanted it, why should 4 clubs, and we know which 4 we're on about, have the monopoly on the Premiership? That's my question.
Well, do you know the reasons why financial fair play was introduced in the first place?
Yes, to stop clubs overspending money that they didn't have, which City haven't.
It was to stop the insolvency of a bulk of football clubs around Europe and the potential solvency of football full stop. Because the net effect of your comparison is a foolish comparison, because if I own a competitive business, I don't have collective responsibility or the ramifications of my actions bouncing around the industry. The trickle-down economics that we don't see in politics in real life do work in football, because the salaries that people are prepared to pay at clubs that can afford to do things because they've got owners that don't really care about the financial consequences have a net down effect on everybody else. So when you're looking at what Man City or Manchester United or Liverpool or Arsenal or any of these big clubs do, it will have an effect on every other aspect of the marketplace. That's why financial fair play was put into place. It's not a perfect system. You're right, Tony. But there needs to be some governance, because when you've got nation states that own football clubs, as in your case and Newcastle's case, their end game isn't about football. Their end game is about other things, and football is the gatekeeper for it. So it has a ramification for every other part of football. That's why there has to be some governance. There has to be some regulation. Every industry has governance that says financial stability is part of it. Football doesn't even have that. It says, actually, you're allowed to lose 30, 40 million pounds a year. No other industry has that as governance.
Okay, Simon. So how much debt is City in?
But debt's one thing and losses are another. What's that got to do with the price of cheese? If you've got a house that's worth 2 million quid and you've got a 500 grand mortgage, on one hand, your mortgage is 500 grand, it could be considered a big debt. On the other hand, your equity is 1.5 million. What's that got to do with the price of cheese?
Well, I don't know what cheese has got to do with it.
Well, neither do I know what your example has, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a situation between 2 different things. You're trying to say that debt on one hand and how much money you want to put into a football club are two things cut from the same cloth, and they're not.
But City Football Group is a business, and that business is now profitable.
Correct. And it's taken this amount of time to get to it. And on the journey that it got to, it bent rules, it manipulated circumstances, and it got opportunities for it to be sanctioned, which it did in 2014.
Tony, can I ask you just to round this off, mate? Are you in the same thought process as Pep? If we're guilty of anything, tell us. Speed this process up.
I mean, you've got this mentality, a bit like a lot of your fan base, that everyone's against you.
I know 4 clubs that didn't want us to be as successful as we are.
Nobody wants you to be successful if they support another football club. Don't be so bloody silly. No one's going to be cheering for your team because they happen to support another one, are they?
Well, you've been going on about our brand of football. That brand of football has cost money.
Well, I've been going on about how brilliant it is, because it is a brilliant brand of football, and that's a compliment. But on the other side of it, I don't like some of the things you've done off the pitch. No.
I'm not comfortable with some of them.
Good lad.
Every time I walk around the Etihad campus and look at the money that's been pumped into the surrounding area, yeah, I am happy with it.
Yes, of course you are. That's called buying off the resistance, isn't it?
But we're not surprised you're happy with it, Tony. Tony, listen, thanks for coming to air. The City fans want to take part in the conversation, Simon. Of that, there is no doubt.
And that was a good call. Tony's got an objective mindset. But the bottom line is, people confuse that. I don't think that financial fair play is ideal. I think it's a blunt instrument. But what's the alternative? The alternative is the Wild West. And basically, an owner runs a football club until he chooses not to. I don't fancy it anymore. I'll run out of money like I did. So the bottom line is that someone's got to pick up that slack, and that football club becomes a sitting target for insolvency.
Is there an obvious way in which financial fair play can be the structure of it now can be improved in your opinion?
I think the obvious way is to allow a passage of time for football clubs that change ownership to be able to have an investment criteria which is different.
Yeah.
So if you come in and you pick up someone else's problems, you're allowed a dispensation for 2 or 3 years to pump cash in for 2 or 3 years only, and then you've got to go under the governance. But that doesn't mean you can keep changing ownership of the football club every 2 years, otherwise you'll get around that by doing that. So a guy coming in that wants to create a different landscape for a football club that hasn't got the organic base that Liverpool have got
as a window,
gets a couple of years. That's my solution.
City maintain their innocence in this. They say they've done nothing wrong. Kick it down the long-term look for me. Have they, Simon? What's your second guess in it?
Yes, I think they are guilty of some of the things that they've been alleged pre-2018. But 2018, I think they've operated in a different way. I think they've built the situation up to a level that their turnover is 500 million quid now, and they can afford to do things. The same charges that were alleged in 2011 about inflating commercial sponsorships are the same ones that UEFA went after them for, that the Court of Arbitration of Sport couldn't consider because of time bars, and the Premier League are going after now.
Okay.
So I do believe that they have a very significant case to answer.
And we'll see as and when they answer it. And that's the whole key to this, because Pep says, get on with it. We'll get on with it. It's 11:30.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.